Hello, my name is Denise Brecken. I'm a faculty with the University of Maryland University College. The field of management has benefited from great minds in many fields as diverse as psychology, organizational behavior, economics, philosophy, the arts, engineering, sociology, education, mathematics, finance, political science, computer science, and public administration. One of those who contributed to management from a variety of perspectives was Herbert Simon. His range is readily seen in these sample quotations. All correct reasoning is a grand system of tautologies, but only God can make direct use of that fact. I don't care how big and fast computers are, they're not as big and fast as the world. What information consumes is rather obvious. It consumes the attention of its recipients. Hence, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. The proper study of mankind is the science of design. And human beings, viewed as behaving systems, are quite simple. The apparent complexity of our behavior over time is largely a reflection of the complexity of the environment in which we find ourselves. Simon's career began at the University of Chicago. In addition to his work at Chicago, Simon also taught economics and political science at the University of Illinois, and he taught psychology, computer science, and industrial management at Carnegie Mellon. Simon served on the team that developed the Marshall Plan after World War II. He was on President Johnson's Science Advisory Committee and in a similar capacity for the National Academy of Science. In his spare time, he was an avid rock climber, lover of music, husband for over 60 years, father and grandfather, guest lecturer, researcher, and author. In all, he wrote or co-wrote 13 books. Among them, Models of Man, which considered mathematical constructs of human behavior. The Sciences of the Artificial, in which he sought to explain concepts such as computer modeling and human information process in terms understandable for persons outside those fields. And Organizations, co-wrote with James March, which was considered a landmark writing in organizational theory. But his extraordinary publishing career is most recognized by two major works, Administrative Behavior and Bounded Rationality. Let me talk a little bit more about those two. Administrative Behavior was published in 1976. Administrative Behavior, reflective of Simon's wide-ranging interests, addresses decision-making in the context of human cognition, management styles, human relations policies, issues of efficacy versus efficiency, the impact of various communication approaches, and employee training. The book drew on the writing of Chester Bernard's Functions of the Executive in 1938, supporting Bernard's supposition that individuals within an organization make decisions reflective of that role rather than as they might as individuals. Simon argued that organizations make decision-making less complex, since the process is shared and with an end in mind, making the individual less alone in the outcome. The text also proposed that those higher up in the management chain tended to make what decisions that carried weight, whereas those lower in the chain tended to make the how decisions grounded in more facts. Simon also argued that organizational goals are often not well defined, but they provide a foundation for a succession of decisions, each of which may result in a lower order goal. In this way, organizational decisions become a composite process, cutting across the organization both vertically and horizontally. The key word here is decisions, since Simon posited that the most effective way to study organizations was to look in depth at the network of processes. The quality of an organizational decision could be measured by two factors. One, the extent to which the decision contributed to achieving the desired goal or objective, and two, the efficiency with which the outcome was attained. At its most effective, the decision-making process effectively did three things. First, it identified and enumerated all alternatives. Second, it articulated all consequences that could result from each of the alternatives. And third, it compared the relative accuracy and efficiency of each of the consequences. The book Bounded Rationality was published in 1991. From the time he was a graduate student, Simon was passionately interested in how decisions in organizations get made or don't get made. In Administrative Behavior, he had wrote, "If there were no limits to human rationality, administrative theory would be barren. It would consist of the single precept, always select that alternative among those available which will lead to the most complete achievement of your goals." The underlying principle with bounded rationality was just that. The ability of humans to make truly rational decisions was bounded by our ability to gather all information and process it all rationally. Time constraints, bias, politics, cognition, preconceived notions, and potentially other factors come into play in the decision-making process. Management theorist Oliver E. Williamson put it this way: bounded rationality implies neither non-rationality nor irrationality. Rather, bounded rationality is behavior that is intendedly rational, but only limitedly so. So construed, bounded rationality takes exception with the analytically convenient assumption of hyperrationality, but does not preclude a predominantly rational approach to the study of complex organizations. Simon coined the term satisficing to refer to the way that people typically make decisions. The term combines the words satisfy and suffice. It symbolizes Simon's core argument that people do not seek to get the maximum benefit out of a decision or course of action because they understand implicitly that a purely rational decision based on all available data is just not doable. A summary of Simon's satisficing was provided in The Economist Online, March 20th, 2009. Quote, "Hence people in many different situations seek something that is good enough, something that is satisfactory. Humans aspire to something that they find acceptable, although that may not necessarily be optimal. They look through things in sequence, and when they come across an item that meets their aspiration level, they go for it." Some theories and theorists don't age well. The ideas they represent don't hold up to the changing times and conditions. But if anything, Herbert Simon's thinking is more relevant today than it was when he was developing those ideas. He was an economist, mathematician, and computer scientist who nonetheless believed that it was neither possible or practical to try to make the one best decision. In a world in which information moves almost at the speed of light, and humans are, in the words of John Nesbitt, drowning in a sea of information, there is some comfort in being able to say, "It's good enough. I can live with it and move. Let's satisfice and get the job done." Thank you.